will recognize myself for 5 minutes for questions. Mr. Powers, what are your, if you can briefly, and I guess you could spend an hour doing this, but if you could briefly tell us your specific plans to achieve a clean audit opinion by Christmas time of 2028.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been around audit a long time in DOD and outside. I think one of the things we absolutely have to do, and all of this is contingent on confirmation, of course, is get senior leadership very actively involved in the process of setting milestones and holding the departments and defense agencies to those milestones. And that goes on top of getting rid of a bunch of legacy systems, leveraging technology, AI, robotics, machine learning, a lot of things we can do to make it easier to audit the department, more efficient, quicker, and at less cost. Back to
if you're confirmed, how soon do you think you might be able to establish that first set of milestones?
That is step number one after I get possibly the DepSecDef to agree, and I'm sure he will. That's just how it works. In weeks, we should be able to make a cut at what those milestones are. It's easy to see what the milestones would be, and then it's the work is underneath. You know, how do we get to a common or a couple of common financial systems?
Okay. Well, you know, I think we all agree on both sides of the dais that the 2024 NDAA anticipated is going to take a while, and it's 3.5 years off even as we speak. So I know it's something that has been a frustration for a long time, but we stand ready to give you the tools you need. So thank you for that. Let me briefly ask Mr. Coleman. Recruiting is up. Based on that, do you think we need to go back to the more stringent recruiting standards that we had earlier?
Senator, I think it's to the credit of what's been done in the Department of the Navy at this point to get to these strong recruiting numbers. If confirmed, I'd like to look into what's driven that recruitment opportunity and if those are higher standard individuals. I think if we have the opportunity to increase the minimum standards, we should absolutely increase those standards as long as we are meeting our recruiting goals.
Okay, well, it seems to me that there's sort of a new enthusiasm among young Americans to sign up and be part of the cause. Let me ask you, in that regard, have you been informed what an enthusiastic supporter of junior ROTC, the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, is?
Mr. Chairman, I have been.
Yes, and I hope you share that enthusiasm. And it's not just something that occurs to members who visit high schools, but this has been substantiated by scholarly studies. Junior ROTC, whether it's Navy or the other opportunities, constitutes a subset of people who, in a high school, who are voluntarily agreeing to better discipline, to more work, to standards that other high school students don't have to have. And the result is clear and amazing and has been happening for decades. They make better grades, they stay in school longer, they go on to jobs or colleges and universities at a higher rate. It is a winner. And just for everyone, when this committee and this Congress, House and Senate, pass an NDAA that says the floor of junior ROTC units across the country should be raised. In other words, we should have more in more high schools. That is not a suggestion. It's been viewed as a suggestion several years back, but that's a requirement. And we mean for junior ROTC to become part of our citizenship building ethos in the United States. Thank you very much, and Dr. Henninger, I'll probably come back to you for some questions later on. At this point, I am happy to recognize Senator King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Power, you've been around audit, as you've said, for many years. Why is it so hard? Why is this case the paradigm case for not being able to get to an audit? What is it at the Pentagon that has created the obstacles to getting where we should get? A lot of big organizations have audits every year. But what's the history here?
Senator, I appreciate that question. I know a lot of people ask that very question. We've been doing this for, 35 years since the CFO Act was passed. In my opinion, it hasn't been as important as it is in the private sector. In the private sector, you can't do business if you don't have clean audit opinions, if you're not answering all the compliance requirements of SEC.
You can't
and all
sell
that
your
other
stock.
stuff.
You can't
Yes.
trade.
But in DOD, really, the prime mission is to, defeat our enemies, and it is not a whole lot to do with
Keeping
cranking
track
out
of the
clean audit
keeping track of the
opinions.
money.
Keeping track of the money is important. We haven't done the greatest job at that. I don't know that that's the worst thing we're failing at when it comes to getting clean financial statements. It's been a little bit of disarray. We have too many systems. They don't talk to each other. It's very difficult to, or has been, to get people interested. I think we're at a nexus in time right now, though. The administration is behind doing the audit. The secretary is. Congress, obviously, you guys are. You've, given us some deadlines.
Well, you have a great opportunity and I think great experience. And as you point out, everybody's aligned behind this mission. So I look forward to your work. You're going to prove to the world that the term comptroller of the Pentagon is not a contradiction in terms. That should be your task. Ms. Henninger, you are, as the chairman noted, extremely well qualified for this job. The problem is the job seems to be going away before you even get there. 70% of the staff of the office that you're designated to leave has been cut. And yet at the same time, the challenges of testing and evaluation of new technologies, particularly the challenges of cyber and ensuring cybersecurity of the whole supply chain, have multiplied in recent years. How in the world are you going to do your job when you've only got 30% of the people that were there a year ago?
Thank you for the opportunity to expand on that, Senator King. I haven't been briefed on the details of Secretary Defense, his memorandum and his decisions after the memorandum. I understand that there's a 60-day period where there will be a reconsideration of any resources that might be necessary. I don't know where that stands right now. The operational test and evaluation community spreads out responsibilities across a number of entities, including the service OTAs, who actually do the cyber testing. At DOT&E, the office that you are talking about in your question, specifically provides oversight and independent analysis to a certain number of programs that are on the oversight list. When I get into the office, I will do an independent analysis of my own.
I think this office is very important, particularly at this moment in time. And Mr. Coleman, I would modify your philosopher's statement. Men and women empowered by the best technology win wars. Genghis Khan was able to conquer the world because of the invention of the stirrup, which enabled his warriors to be more fearsome. The English army at Agincourt defeated the French, a 4 times size army, because of the new technology of the longbow. So what you're doing is incredibly important, and I hope you'll fight for the office, for the people that you need in order to do the job. I think that's what's especially important here. Mr. Denton, legal advice and rule of law. You've done a lot of law work throughout your career. You know that one of the important jobs of a lawyer sometimes is to tell their client things they don't want to hear. Are you willing to do that to the Secretary of Defense or the President of the United States if you feel that the law is moving in a direction, or the law requires a direction that isn't consistent with the policy direction that they want to pursue?
Senator, that is always a lawyer's first obligation, is to tell their client what the law is and what their options and obligations are. I look forward to providing that advice to Secretary Phelan if confirmed, and to working closely with colleagues in the General Counsel of the Department of Defense Office, and if necessary, the White House Counsel's Office, on any broader legal issues that we may need to collaborate on.
Thank you very much. Mr. Coleman, I have some questions for you about manpower for the record. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator King. Senator Scott, you rushed in here breathlessly to take your place ahead of Senator Tuberville. Have you caught your breath? Are you? Are
you all right? Do you want to go?
Are you able to?
All right.
Yes, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you. First off, thanks each of you for being here. So I'm a business guy. I've been up here for 6.5 years. I ran companies. We never didn't have an audit. I mean, it's actually hard to believe that our military can't get an audit done. So in my business life, one, you couldn't sell public stock. Nobody would buy your stock. You couldn't raise money. The bank would foreclose on you. So, and what's frustrating is no one's ever been held accountable. I mean, I don't know anybody that hasn't been promoted. I don't know anybody that's been let go. There's basically no accountability. You have to admire the Marines. They testified about, a couple weeks ago, and they make their audit, but nobody else gets it done. So Mr. Powers, if confirmed, you're going to oversee the DOD's finances and budget every year. This clearly is not an easy job. How long is it going to take you to deliver a clean audit? Easy question.
December 31st, 2028, Senator.
You think it'll take that long?
Yes, I do. There's a lot to be done. What the Marine Corps did, part of it was they did it because they're Marines, and they did it the hard way. They didn't have great systems. They didn't have good internal controls, but they audited through that, meaning instead of sampling 100 items, they would sample thousands of items to get to the point where they could assure the reader of the financial statements that they were correct, and the auditors. It'll take some time. I mean, we got to consolidate systems, got to get rid of a bunch of legacy stuff. We got to start leveraging AI and.
So in the meantime, are we going to get audit reports with exceptions?
Senator, we get those every year, but we've been making progress. We've got 12 financial statements from last year, organizations within DOD that got clean audit opinions. An effort was made to get the government's checkbook, fund balance with Treasury, audited and cleaned up. That was a material weakness that GAO had identified. And quite a number of them did get cleaned up, improved. But there's a lot to do. We just have not been serious enough about it. I believe that now is the time. I mean, we're all kind of on board. I refer to this as a nonpartisan exercise because we all know it needs to be done, and it only makes sense. And what's going on? Why can't we do it? And we haven't done it because we haven't had the will.
So do you think it takes new people?
Excuse me?
To take new people? And in my business life, I mean, if you're the CFO and you didn't get an audit done, you lost your job. I mean, no CFO can keep their job if the audit's not done.
Correct.
So does it take new people? Because the people there must not be important to them.
Certainly, it will take new people. We haven't delivered with the people we have, to the extent that needs to be looked at and analyzed and reconfigured, I will say. We need to get we need to get the train pointed in the right direction, and then we need to execute. We need to have a good plan. We need to have leadership that is all over making this very important. You know, in business, when the boss says something's really important, you do it because you might lose your job.
Do you think the bosses are saying that?
I don't think there was a lot of that previously. There was some people were more interested than others. Some people just thought it was an impossible task. And some people were much more interested in executing, you know, against the broader mission of the department. I think it needs to be important, and it needs, then people like the comptroller need to be accountable. It's not just one person, it's the entire organization, but if confirmed, I would like to put together a plan that involves senior leadership, DepSecDef, managing monthly meetings, holding people accountable, the secretaries and the financial managers and comptrollers for the departments and agencies.
Well, I would appreciate it after you get confirmed, if you could just give us a, like, in writing, just a quarterly update of how you're doing. So, because I think a lot of us here really care about this, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure it's a priority. So, thank you.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Scott. And Mr. Powers, let me just pick up on what the senator just said. I heard you say you're going to, within weeks, if you're confirmed, and I think you will be, that you'll establish benchmarks and markers. If you come back and testify before us in early January of next year, do you think you'll be able to say that you will have achieved those benchmarks and milestones that you're going to set out very soon?
I think I can come back and tell you what those benchmarks and milestones are and when we expect to get those checked off. Not getting them actually completed by January. That's not going to happen.
Okay, I see. Well, we'll explore that further. Thank you, but thank you very much for that answer. Senator Kane, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this is a great panel, all people highly qualified for the positions. Mr. Coleman, you began and finished your testimony with the United States is worth defending, and it made me think if the United States is worth defending, and we all believe that it is, then public service to the United States is worth defending. I found it interesting, a common theme in all of your opening testimonies, and you each write them independently, but you all emphasized the deep connections that both you and family members have had to the service of the United States in civilian capacities, in military capacities, in judicial capacities. Each of you walked through your life and chose to allocate a lot of your 5 minutes to talk about your justified pride in serving the country. I've got an awful lot of public servants in Virginia who are right now feeling like they've just been cast aside. And this is not about any of you, but in the same way that you feel pride in having served the country and excitement about this next opportunity for service, in the same way that a whole lot of people in this room and a whole lot of people behind me up here feel pride that they've chosen to serve their country by being U.S. public servants. Tens of thousands of public servants have been riffed, doged, kicked out, fired, locked out of their office, placed on administrative leave with virtually no process to analyze the merits of their service, the productivity of the office they work in, or their own careers. A whole lot of them have been fired for the simple reason that they're probationary, that they can be fired, that they're in their first year of service and they have little recourse. Because the federal civilian service is about 30% veteran compared to the public sector being in the single digits veteran, the victims of this mass firing of federal employees in the last 8 months have been disproportionately veterans, overwhelmingly veterans. DOD civilians, USAID employees, because veterans serve long periods of time, and then when they transition to civilian workforce, even if they've been in the military for 25 years, in that first year, you're a person of great expertise, but you're a probationary employee, just like a 23-year-old who can be cast aside like you're trash. And so I'm glad that each of you in your own way decided when you had 5 minutes before the committee, the thing that you really wanted to tell us about yourself was your pride in serving this nation in a whole variety of different ways. And I want everyone who serves this country to feel proud of it, to want to do it, and to feel respected and appreciated for having done it. Mr. Coleman, I appreciated our visit in the office a lot, and this is a really important post, as all of your posts are important. I'm the lead Democrat on the Sea Power Subcommittee, so the Navy Marine issue is really important to Virginia, really important to me. One of my kids is a Marine reservist. How are you going to, should you be confirmed in the Navy, ensure a smooth transition for employees who were in the deferred resignation program or the voluntary early retirement authority? How can you manage that in a smooth way while maintaining operational readiness?
Senator, thank you for the question. And the civilian workforce that we have is critical to our national security and the Department of the Navy. And the decisions that were made previously was not something I took part in, but future transitions of individuals, and if we do need to make right-sizing adjustments, need to be made done in a data-driven way to ensure that we're making the right decisions for the Department of the Navy. One opportunity we could explore is something similar to the TAPS program that the active duty military has to look at what options to transition are. Shipbuilding and workforce is a critical thing that we have to think about in the private sector. There could be opportunities to take folks who have adjacent expertises and help make those seamless transitions happen for them. But I look forward to diving in deeper and understanding the problem more deeply.
You and I talked in my office, and I won't go further into it, about the Brandon Act, which is an act that I helped to get passed to really focus upon the mental health needs of sailors, and there's components to it that are applicable throughout the defense enterprise. Really important that those resources be available, that there be no stigma attached to seeking mental health services. I know that you share that goal. And then the last thing is, we talked about the civilian workforce, but you were also a reservist. Talk about the way to make sure that our reservists are really fully, integrated into the Navy mission.
Senator Kaine, thanks for the question. There's an immense, to the chairman's point, eagerness to serve our country with very unique skill sets. And I think the reserves has a unique opportunity to take the existing reserve members we have and bring in new members for very targeted skill sets that we can put them into roles so they can have immediate impact within the Department of Navy. I think of people who are in banking or consulting or are on the front lines of manufacturing that we need direct insight into in the service. I think we can find ways to make use of their skills very quickly.
Thank you for that. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Tuberville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Congratulations to all of you, and thanks for your service. Ms. Henniger, Huntsville, Alabama is a major hub for innovations in hypersonic space warfare and quantum computing, just to name a few. I don't need to tell you we're already years behind our adversaries in these critical technologies. What will you do to accelerate the testing and evaluation of critical technologies, especially as threats from adversaries like China continue to mature?
Senator Tuberville, thank you for the opportunity to answer this. I am very familiar with Huntsville, been there many, many times to Redstone. I worked with the Cyber Red team there. I agree, it is a hotbed of innovation for the country. Appreciate all the smart people down there. And speed is very, very important, and speed with rigor is even better. So there are a number of levers in place right now that DOT&E can encourage the operational test agencies to employ. They include things like shifting left. They include things like taking advantage of training exercises or operational experimentation exercises. They include things like more tightly integrating DT and OT. The issue, in my view, is that those things are becoming our go-to for surge, and they should be everyday baseline in every test we do. So I would like to see us move beyond surging with manpower and find other ways, automation, more automated T&E, more digital methods, digital modeling to speed and facilitate our test and evaluation processes.
Thank you. Our F-35 program seems to take one step forward and two steps back. How do we fix that?
Sir, thank you for the question. I've been out of the office for 4 years, and I'm not tracking exactly what's going on with the F-35. I haven't been briefed on it. I know the Block 4 is coming up. I know there's a lot of classified work on that. I am slightly familiar with it because I worked on it previously. But one of my first steps back into the office would be to come up to speed on all these weapon systems, especially the classified ones that I've missed the last 4 years, and understand where our baseline is and what we're doing.
You'll find out pretty quick. Again, it's a great machine. We just continue to have problems. Mr. Coleman, DoD civilian workforce numbers have exploded in the last 2 decades, while service and strengths have decreased. The tail is eating the tooth and has become an enormous burden to the American taxpayer. Under the previous administration, there were additional protections put in at the request of labor unions to make it harder to fire unperforming employees. What's your plans to fix this bloated bureaucracy?
Senator, thank you for the question. Coming from the private sector, there were many opportunities when we had to reassess our workforce to understand if it was at the correct size. I think it's appropriate for government to make similar assessments. I wanted, if confirmed, get in the seat and understand where the core areas of priority are, and if we have to reshift allocations of civilian workforce from one area to the other, or maybe rewrite size areas as well. I think holding civilians and military personnel to very high standards and holding them accountable for performance is critical to driving the change that we need.
Yeah, and also a lot of our military bases, the brick and mortar is an absolute disgrace. I know that's not you're not going to be over brick and mortar, but we're going to need your help to fix a lot of that. And we're behind.
Senator, the state of how our service members live is critical to both retention and recruitment, and I look forward to working with Secretary of the Navy. I know it's a priority of his to make sure that our service members have the right places to live.
Yeah, the quality of life, should be a lot better than what it is for a lot of our families, and that's important for recruiting, as we were talking about earlier. Mr. Denton, the previous administration flouted the law and used the office to seek, and many others to advance a political agenda. As the Navy's top lawyer, can you commit to helping ensure the Navy will follow statute and advise senior leaders in an apolitical manner?
Absolutely, Senator.
You see any problems? What do you think will be your number one agenda when you first go into office?
Senator, I think that my most important priority, if confirmed, will be supporting Secretary Phelan's most important priority, which is shipbuilding and getting the battle force back to where it needs to be. That's going to be a full life cycle effort throughout the entire acquisition and sustainment process, making sure that we are receiving value for dollar from industry, but at the same time ensuring that we have the right authorities and the right resources deployed to sustain the fleet and make sure that we have the capabilities that our sailors and Marines need to deter and, if necessary, win any fight that might come our way.
Thank you, Senator Wicker, and I like to hear that word, shipbuilding, don't we, Senator?
Senator Tuberville, I don't think we could have had a finer answer to that question.
Exactly right.
Thank you very much. Senator Blumenthal, you're recognized.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your service, your willingness to serve in the future as well. Mr. Coleman, one of the real challenges in today's military, including in the Navy, is the critical shortage of personnel in key C billets. It isn't just a manpower issue, it's a readiness and retention issue. As you know, the Army's Future Soldier Preparatory course has demonstrated success by bringing in thousands of previously ineligible recruits and setting them up for long-term success in the Army. That course has, in effect, overcome some of the disadvantages that new potential recruits have. I wonder what steps you would contemplate to address the shortages of recruiting, which have become problems from time to time, and whether the Navy should pursue a similar kind of preparatory program.
Senator, thank you for the question. It's been heartening to see the Navy and Marine Corps both meet their recruiting goals in the past year, but in past years that has been a deep challenge. If confirmed, one of the first things I want to do is understand what has driven that uptick. And if we can reinforce those areas of success, ensure that we replicate that effort. And where individuals who wanted to serve maybe fell short for waiver reasons or medical reasons or physical fitness reasons, if we can potentially look at options to help bring them in through similar programs like the Army program, I'm open to exploring that. I'll also say on the shipbuilding front, I think there's an opportunity for us, for individuals who may not meet the physical requirements of the Navy, consider options to making them available to industry and opening up the trades for them to go into if they're looking for great paying jobs in support of our nation.
In a previous Congress, I've championed a measure that's named after a young man who committed suicide. He was from Connecticut, Xavier Sandor, to provide more off-ship, on and off-base, better living conditions when ships are undergoing maintenance, so that they don't have to live on the ship while it's being repaired for whatever reason or undergoing maintenance. I like your commitment that you'll look at that program and make sure that the Navy is fulfilling its obligations in the memory of Xavier Sandor. His father, John, is dedicated to this cause, and I know that the previous administration championed it as well.
Senator, if confirmed, I will gladly look into it and commit to looking into it more deeply.
Ms. Henninger, unmanned aerial and undersea warfare, is this an area where you feel you have a responsibility to advance the technology and the practical uses?
Senator Blumenthal, thank you for that question. From the perspective of operational test and evaluation, it would be, if confirmed, my role to assure that those systems were properly tested, adequately tested in an operational environment, in combat credible conditions with realistic threats.
Are we testing them now adequately?
Sir, yes. There are a number of systems in those spaces, not perhaps fully autonomous, but semi-autonomous, that we do test.
Let me ask you, do you think we're keeping pace with the technologies that other countries are developing in unmanned warfare?
Thank you for that question, sir. I'm not, especially because I'm not in the DoD right now, privy to the intelligence reports that would give me the baseline to understand our comparison. But if confirmed, I would commit to, of course, getting briefed quickly by the intel community to understand where our near-peer adversaries are.